in a distant land, the land of Canaan. In a small and peaceful town, a pure and faithful family lived. Their father, Prophet Jacob, was a man of piety and wisdom who held a special love in his heart for his son Joseph. Joseph was the beloved son of Prophet Jacob, who shone like a light in his father's eyes. He was a handsome, pure, and honest boy. These qualities made him more beloved and special to his father than the other children. At the same time, Prophet Jacob was very careful not to let this affection become obvious, so that jealousy would not arise in the hearts of his other children. One night, Joseph had a dream in which the sun, the moon, and 11 stars were bowing down to him. This dream held great meaning in Joseph's heart, because in that dream he had received an important message from God. When Joseph told his dream to his father, Prophet Jacob looked at him carefully and said, "My son, this dream is a sign of your great future, but do not speak of this dream to others, for your brothers and sisters may become jealous and harm you." Prophet Jacob knew well that in the hearts of Joseph's brothers, who were 12 in total, there was hidden jealousy and greed. And so it happened that this jealousy grew stronger in the hearts of Joseph's brothers day by day. They could not bear that Joseph was more beloved in their father's eyes than they were. Jealousy and resentment weighed heavily on the hearts of Joseph's brothers. One day, Joseph's brothers consulted with each other and decided to get rid of Joseph. One of them suggested killing Joseph, but their eldest, Reuben, said not to do such a thing. He suggested that they throw Joseph into a well and leave him there. In the end, the brothers decided to throw Joseph into a well in the desert. When they cast Joseph into the well, in the middle of the night, God revealed to him that soon he would inform them of something that would astonish them at a time when they intended to harm him. Joseph was alone and helpless at the bottom of the well, but his heart was filled with faith in God. He knew that God was always with him, and that even in the hardest moments, God's grace would be with him. Many hours passed until a caravan of travelers passing by heard Joseph's voice. When they approached the well, they pulled Joseph out and decided to take him to Egypt. In Egypt, Joseph was sold as a slave and put to work in the house of one of Egypt's nobles, known as the Aziz of Egypt. The Aziz of Egypt was a virtuous and respected man, and Joseph began to serve in his household. Joseph devoted himself wholeheartedly to his work, with care, honesty, and purity. His conduct was so exemplary and sincere that the Aziz of Egypt soon appointed him as the manager of his household. But new challenges awaited Joseph in the house of the Aziz of Egypt. The wife of the Aziz, Zuleika, who was a beautiful and seductive woman, became infatuated with Joseph and constantly tried to tempt him. One day, when everyone had left the house, Zuleika pulled Joseph into a room and tried to seduce him into sin. But Joseph sought refuge in God in his heart and said to her, "I seek refuge in God. I cannot commit this sin." With a trembling heart but steadfast faith, Joseph fled from the room and ran toward the closed doors. Zuleika, angry and frantic, chased after him. Every door that Joseph reached appeared to be locked, but by God's command, the locks broke one after another and the doors opened. Joseph hurried from one door to the next, and the light of hope grew brighter in his heart. Zuleika, her eyes blazing with anger and desire, pleaded with him from behind. And at the moment when Joseph was about to pass through the last door, she grabbed his shirt from behind. Joseph's shirt was torn from the back. Suddenly, the Aziz of Egypt, who intended to visit Zuleika, opened the door, saw the scene, and was shocked. But Zuleika, whose intentions had been exposed, cried out and, with a great lie, accused Joseph, saying that he had tried to assault her. This very accusation landed Joseph in prison, but even during that time, he never abandoned his faith and always remained hopeful that God would save him from this ordeal. In prison, Joseph won hearts with his wisdom and careful conduct. One day, two of the prisoners had dreams and asked Joseph to interpret them. Joseph carefully interpreted their dreams and told them that one of them would soon be released from prison, while the other would lose his life. Just as Joseph had predicted, the events in their dreams came to pass. Much later, the ruler of Egypt had a dream that no one was able to interpret. At that time, one of the men whose dreams Joseph had interpreted recounted Joseph's story and his dream interpretation in prison to the ruler of Egypt. The ruler ordered that Joseph be brought out of prison to interpret his dream. When Joseph came before the ruler and interpreted his dream, the ruler was deeply impressed by Joseph's wisdom and profound understanding. Joseph predicted that there would be 7 years of abundance in Egypt, followed by 7 years of famine. With this prediction, the ruler of Egypt decided to appoint Joseph as his minister of finance and put him in charge of managing the country during the time of famine. Joseph rose from prison to the high and honored position in Egypt. Now, not only had he become the esteemed one of Egypt, but he also had the opportunity to serve his family and show his brothers how God had supported him through patience and faith. During those years when famine had spread throughout the region, Egypt, thanks to Joseph's wisdom, had abundant reserves of wheat and provisions. People from nearby cities and countries would come to Egypt to get food. In Canaan as well, the famine was putting pressure on the people. For this reason, Prophet Jacob told his sons to set out for Egypt to bring back wheat. Joseph's brothers traveled from Canaan to Egypt to buy provisions from the ruler of Egypt, who was actually Joseph himself, but they did not recognize him. Joseph, who had now become a dignified and imposing man, immediately recognized them when he saw them, but he did not reveal his identity. A storm of emotions raged within him. The lump in his throat, which he had held back for years, was now on the verge of bursting at the sight of his brothers' faces, but he chose to be patient. He asked them about their family, and they replied that they had an elderly father and a younger brother who had stayed with him. Joseph said, "If you are telling the truth, then bring your younger brother to me as well." And in his heart, he held a great decision. When the brothers returned to Canaan and recounted the story to their father, Jacob, his heart was filled with sorrow. Jacob, suspecting that they harbored ill intentions toward Benjamin, spoke to them harshly, but was ultimately compelled to allow them to take Benjamin, Joseph's younger brother, with them to Egypt. This time, when the brothers came to Joseph with Benjamin, he showed special affection to his younger brother, but still did not reveal his identity. Until one night, he was alone with Benjamin and revealed himself to his younger brother, saying, "I am Joseph, your brother. Do not be sad, I will keep you with me." The next morning, Joseph ordered that a golden cup be hidden in Benjamin's sack of wheat, and then it was announced that the cup was missing. The officials quickly reached the caravan of the Canaanites, searched their belongings, and found the golden cup in Benjamin's sack. Everyone was astonished. Some of them accused Benjamin of theft, while others did not believe it and were upset. But they had no choice but to return to Canaan. When they returned to Canaan, they recounted to Prophet Jacob the story of Benjamin's alleged theft. Upon hearing these words, a fresh wave of grief washed over Prophet Jacob's heart. The memory of Joseph came alive. He let out a burning sigh and said, "This is just like what you did with Joseph before. For God's sake, there is betrayal once again among you." Yet, despite the pain in his heart, he still held hope in God's grace. A little later, he decided to write a letter to the Aziz of Egypt. In that letter, he wrote as follows: "O Aziz of Egypt, we are the family of a prophet of God. My sons came to you to buy provisions, and now one of my children, Benjamin, has remained with you. Return him to me, for I am an old and sorrowful father. Do not make me grieve any more than this." Once again, Joseph's brothers set out for Egypt, this time carrying their father's letter with them. When they arrived in Joseph's presence, they asked for permission to enter so they could deliver their father Jacob's letter to him. When Joseph read the letter, he quietly shed tears. He could no longer bear to hide himself any longer. He fixed his gaze on his brothers and said, "Do you not know who I am? I am Joseph, the very brother you threw into the well and heard nothing from for years." Joseph's brothers were suddenly stunned. A wave of astonishment and shame washed over their faces. Still unable to believe it, they said, "How could the ruler of Egypt possibly be our Joseph?" Joseph said, "Yes, I know it is hard for you to believe. But look, the very brother you threw into the well, by the grace and mercy of God, has become the esteemed ruler of Egypt, not by his own strength." One of them lowered his head and said, "By God, God has favored you over us, and we were indeed at fault." With great nobility and kindness, Joseph said, "Today there is no blame upon you. May God forgive you, for he is the most merciful of the merciful. Go, take my shirt and lay it over our father's eyes so that his sight may be restored. Then all of you come here with your families." The brothers, filled with excitement and joy, took the shirt and set out for Canaan. Before the caravan arrived, Jacob, who was in Canaan, suddenly said, "I sense the scent of Joseph, if you do not think me deluded." Shortly after, Joseph's brothers returned to Canaan with great excitement and recounted the whole story to everyone. Prophet Jacob, who was now very happy, thanked his God among the people. When they brought the shirt and placed it on his face, Jacob's eyes regained their sight. His blindness was cured. Tears of joy streamed from his eyes, and with a cry full of love he said, "Did I not tell you that I know from God what you do not know?" After that, Jacob and all his family packed their belongings and set out for Egypt. The moment of reunion arrived. Father and son, after years of separation, fell into each other's arms. Tears of joy streamed down both their cheeks. Joseph seated his father respectfully on the throne, and all the brothers bowed down before him in reverence, and thus Joseph's childhood dream was fulfilled. In the next video, we will tell the story of the conquest of the Khyber fortress by Hazrat Ali. Subscribe to the channel to support us.